Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's better on draft.
And we are live, the Michigan Craft Beer Series, episode number 48. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is it episode 48? Where is episode 47? Well, last week, right before the Detroit Fall Beer Festival, we had a great 3-hour-long show with Nick the Brewer, formerly of Black Lotus. And Ian, he said how to pronounce his last name. I don't remember how. It ends in Gibbons. There's a Ranagata Gast, I think. But we had both of them on. We've got 3 parts coming. They're going to be released throughout the next week. So this episode will get released before those 3 episodes. So that's why it's going to be coming out of order. Once again, my name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I am drinking a 51K IPA. That's right, folks. I'm drinking an IPA and I am enjoying it. Wendy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Blackrocks Float Copper. It is an amber lager, and I am also very much enjoying it.
I think we Freaky Friday'd here because you're drinking the amber and I'm drinking the IPA. I know you like ambers, but, you know, that's kind of my shtick. Don't worry, though. I do have, for the end of the show, a nice little amber ale from Bell's. The greatness. But, Rob, what do you got over there in Indiana?
I have a distilled tour bus, which is a double dry hopped hazy IPA. Distilled out of Illinois.
All right. Well, as you could tell by the name of the show, it is a Michigan beer series, which means we are interviewing a Michigan brewery. So we have 2 great folks on the show to chat about their brewery coming all the way up across the bridge, 7 hours from Michigan. We have Andy and David. Andy, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do over at Blackrocks.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Andy Langlois.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, how you doing, David?
Good to see you.
Like, we should have drove together to below the bridge. Where are you staying?
I'm at the office.
Oh, I thought you were like in Corktown or something. Okay, never mind. Anyways, I'm one of the owners at Blackrocks. I do stuff there. Lots of stuff. We guess we'll get into more of that later.
All right, well, we'll get into that stuff in a little bit. David, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you're doing. And, of course, we'll go back and you guys can say what you're drinking if you're drinking anything.
I'm not. David Manson, one of the co-founders with my partner, Andy. You know, we both try to do stuff to stay busy. And I think that's about it.
That's a Nord Sky. Session IPA. Or as we say in the UP, Session IPA.
Well, we appreciate that. The Session IPA, the Nord Sky. Why don't you let's start off with Blackrocks. Why don't you give us a little bit of a history of the brewery, why you guys decided to brew up in Marquette? Obviously, we as Michiganders probably know why you chose the name, but why you chose the name. Give us a little history lesson on Blackrocks Brewery.
Go ahead, David.
Oh, am I to your looker's left? Okay.
Oh, wait. No, you're on my right, but I got.
Oh, point the other way.
There we go. Right there.
I'll take it from here, Andy. Thank you.
Real subtle cues, you know.
Yeah, so Andy and I were both in pharmaceutical sales for quite a while. It was kind of what we thought was going to be our career that would carry us to the Golden Watch, and we would be done. And after, for me, I think at the time that Andy joined, I had been doing it for maybe 7 or 8 years. And then after about Andy's 5th year, he's like, I need something creative. This is not very creative. This is rote memorization and regurgitation. And it really is. It's kind of a see and say kind of a thing. And as you can see from his title, he's our musician, and he's an amazing musician and singer. And we talked about a band, but I am neither of those things. So that wasn't going to be an option. We weren't going to be able to be a band. And I had mentioned kind of off the cuff, I said, when I first moved back to Marquette, I'm from Marquette, Andy's from Kingsford, so we're a couple of Yoopers. I used to brew beer. And Andy, what was your response?
I like beer.
So great. That's something we could agree upon. Let's do that. And I said, but when we do this homebrew kind of odyssey, when I did it, it was, malt extract, boil, add some hops, put it in some, priming sugar in bottles and watch them explode and taste like crap. So I said, if we do this, I want to do this kind of like the real way. I want to use grain. I want to get a mill. I want to brew it the way that the pros brew it. And so we did. We got some outfit out of was it Omaha, Nebraska, or Tulsa?
High gravity fly out of somewhere down there.
Arkansas. Anyway, and so we got these conicals, and we got our boil kettle, and we got everything done, and we went straight to corny kegs. We got a bunch of used corny kegs, and we eventually kind of had like a little draft system in the basement, but we did it a lot. Mm-hmm. We dove in. We were
every weekend.
Every weekend.
4 years or something.
I retrofitted our electrical system so we could move it indoors in the winter. And after the Affordable Care Act, pharmaceutical companies kind of thought it was going to be the death mall, which it kind of was of our careers. And after, about 4 years, we were homebrewing a lot. We got notice that we were probably going to get laid off. And so we said, we don't want to leave Marquette. We don't want to jump back into the industry that we're not really excited about. Let's try to do something up here in our small little burg. And so we did. We started with a 1 barrel, and gosh, we've literally been growing ever since. And that was 2010.
Yeah. And Marquette was a town that the Veerling, I don't know if you guys ever met Chumley, the brewer at the Veerling, but he's been doing it for a long time, probably 90s.
Yeah.
So they have a brew pub over there, but we came in under the license of like a microbrewery as the first one in Marquette, and we really didn't know how it was going to go. And with the 1 barrel system, we thought, boy, it'd be great if we can sell all this.
Yeah.
And in the first night, people came in and they drank us out of beer immediately. There wasn't much left to be had. We had
4 barrels.
We had 4 things on tap, and that was it. And then, so we'd raise a glass and toast everyone and say, well, the taps are dry. You drank us out. And they'd laugh at us and point their finger and laugh. And fortunately, there was Facebook around, and we could somehow kind of stay in contact. And we'd brew more. And then, I don't know, a week and a half later, we'd post, we're going to be open on Thursday. And then they'd come and drink us out of beer again. And we thought, well, this is great, but it's also not great because we're definitely going to need to upsize a little bit, which is a whole nother story. But I don't know. I won't keep rambling if you have other questions.
Well, so where does the name Blackrocks come from?
That's so there's a feature just north of town called Presque Isle. Well, it's an island, close to an island, Presque Isle, hence the name. And on the far side are some of the oldest rocks geologists claim on Earth, volcanic rock, and they're black. And it's kind of just right perched out there on the point, right in Lake Superior, where you can kind of see in many directions. And it also happens to be a really fun spot to go cliff diving. And so
if you're from Marquette or you're visiting Marquette, chances are if you're there in the summer, somebody's going to try to drag you out there to jump off 17 feet into the beautiful, refreshing Lake Superior.
So maybe not that high, but when you're standing there looking at Lake Superior, you do shake a little bit in the legs the first time.
Have either of you done it?
Oh yeah. All my kids have done it. All his kids have done it. Has Eden done it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our kids have done it. Everybody, it's a rite of passage, and it's just kind of you'll go out there on a beautiful August day, and there'll be, no lie, there'll be 150 people out there, egging people on, encouraging people on, doing backflips, doing gainers, diving, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cove. These great lake rocks are glowing. It's just. It's quite a scene to take in, and the whole idea of Blackrocks and kind of became a metaphor for us too. Jumping off the cliff and trying something new, and not really knowing how it's going to go, but we're going to do it anyways. And that taking a little bit of adventurous spirit into our new adventure and seeing which direction it takes us.
Before I pass it over to Wendy, I want to ask Wendy and Rob, have you guys ever done a cliff dive before? Oh, Rob, your mic's really weird again. It's worse than it was before. Wendy, what about you?
No, I have friends that have done it, but I am terrified of heights. So I would pee on the way down. I'm 100% sure. So okay. I tend not to do stuff like that. I've seen people do it in Marquette, and I have seen people do it whitewater rafting in West Virginia. And I am perfectly happy to watch from the boat when people do that.
Fair enough.
While Rob's reconnecting, so I have a question about this, and then I'm going to pass it to Wendy. But for me, I've only done one cliff dive, and it was 12 years ago. I did Tough Mudder, and this was so. What they do is they build this 20-foot, basically, you climb it up, you dive off the cliff, and you dive into the water. But the problem is that it was 20 feet up, and at the bottom of it, there was still another 10 feet to go. So it was definitely at least 30 feet. And I know how to swim. I know how to get around. And I did the dive. It didn't look back, like it was fun. And then I woke up and I'm starting to swim, and I look up again and I haven't moved. And I don't know what it was. There was no tide. It was a quarry. So it was just still standing water. It was in Ohio in April. So it was freezing. But like I'm swimming, look up, didn't move, swim a little more, look up, and I had to be rescued. So does the state of Michigan or anyone, like, are there any lifeguards on duty or that? Or is it kind of jump at your own risk? Or is it kind of like the people that know how to swim and know how to lifeguard are kind of ready to go if they need to go?
Yes and no and yes. I think it's loosely patrolled by the parks, but it's really not even a sanctioned place, right? It's not like, it just is word of mouth. It's just kind of what has become a place. And so I think everybody kind of, as is the way up here, I think everybody kind of looks out for each other. And even if you're, trying to get somebody to go off, you're also feeling like, all right, I got to kind of pay attention if this person's going to have any problems. Because it is a shock to a lot of people. Lake Superior is a cold body of water. And I think, that's probably the most fun, is just seeing everybody's reaction of just getting that wind knocked out of you from the cold. But it's pretty well, it's a short swim to shore. There's a couple places to climb up, and yeah, it's pretty well protected, but not sanctioned, not anything formal. And
all right, Wendy.
All right, so back to the beer scene in Marquette. I know since the last time I've been there, the beer scene has changed crazy. So what has changed over the years since you guys opened?
That's great. So with Chumley knocking out beers at the brew pub, the difference. They can't distribute. They can have guest taps. They can have everything else. Okay.
Severely, yeah.
And so, for us, it's been, I think, getting into it in 2010, we were on that like midpoint of the crest of craft beer. And there was just a lot of, I don't want to say ignorance in a negative way, but just a lot of people coming in saying, what do you have that's like Bud Light? And for us, it was like, nothing. We really don't. Like, we have craft beer. We use malts and special ingredients to give unique flavors. And a lot of people were, I think, in the beginning, 2010, 2011, a little put off, or people would come in and say, I really don't like beer. But then over time, and having, been there to see these people who came in and asked for something that was like Bud Light to all of a sudden graduate along the scale of beers, 3 years later, the same people are like, you guys going to do a no, maybe not 3 years, but are you guys going to do a hazy or they're like, they've changed their perception of what beer can be. And I think that's been really one of the more interesting, fun things to see as a result. And then, multiple others opening to give them options of different styles and how people are doing different approaches to craft beer has been really, really interesting.
And to your question, Wendy, also, with the other breweries starting to pop up in Marquette, it's really created a bit of a scene up there. Not as large as a Grand Rapids or, maybe even Detroit, but, for being a small town, there's a lot of places you can go and visit. And it was really odd. I think I was bartending in like 2013, 14. And this couple came in. I said, well, where are you guys from? We're from downstate. And, well, what are you doing up here? I said, we're checking out breweries. And that was like the first time I had heard someone say that was probably 2013. And since then, it's just become common, to come to the UP and, whether you're checking out the leaves or going kayaking or camping or whatever, but you're putting the beer tour on your list of things to do. And, how cool to see that change and be a part of it.
The last time I was there, we actually came for Beer Fest. And we literally scheduled a whole week so that we could go. At the time, we had to go crisscross back and forth across the UP because there was only 5 or 6 breweries open at the time.
Yep.
So, and you had to go by when they were open and stuff like that. So you had to go from like, I think we went from Tequamanon Falls all the way up to Copper Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
In like one day so that we could get everything in when they were open. So I think it's really awesome. Now I can't wait to come back up and do another beer tour and see how things have changed. So tell us a little bit more about what life in Marquette is like.
I think in the summer, it's about as close to island living as you can get. Everybody's ratcheted down a little bit. They're enjoying the wonderful weather because 9 months of it is not always wonderful. So there's just a little slower pace. Highly recreational focused, whether it's mechanical or self-driven. Real appreciation of our natural surrounds. Lake Superior, the amazing bike paths we have, the general just kind of the ennui of nature mixed with a little bit of culture mixed with just a really fun, good people vibe.
Yep. And then in the winter, I'd say it even keys down a little more, if that's possible. And then, everybody's choosing whether they're going to everybody has to find a way to get out. And sometimes Mother Nature does that and you have to go shovel. Sometimes it's a lot. But there's all these other pursuits, snowmobile or snowshoeing, downhill skiing, cross country skiing, ice climbing. There's all kinds of fun things. And I think like our place has become a fun gathering place too, for people just getting out and enjoying the culture and taking part in what is the UP.
So like I said, I was there for the Fall Michigan Brewers Guild Festival.
Hands down the best one.
Awesome. 100%. I agree with you. I tell people that all the time. I highly suggest people go. I 100% believe that if I had gone to the UP for the first time in the summer or fall, I probably would have ended up going to school there. It's just beautiful, but I can't do the winter. So you guys are a hardy people. I love that.
Yeah,
I think that for you.
Everybody says that, but I think when you're in it, like we had what I called the Detroit winter last winter, and I was ready to lose my mind because we didn't have the snow to recreate in. And if you have the right clothes, you're fine. It's wearing the proper gear to get out and enjoy it. And I don't know. I think the winters are pretty special in that regard because maybe we are a little bit hardier, but there's also a cool we're all in this together kind of vibe. Like if it is blowing sideways and 2-foot drifts. And it's like, let's meet up and socialize, because we're going to go crazy if we don't. And so I think there's a lot of that buoying each other to get through it, like get each other out into the recreation to kind of enjoy it. So it's kind of a neat little side effect of living up here in the gnarly winter.
So
I love it.
To David's point too, like, it is that feeling like you're all in this together, and then spring finally breaks.
Oof.
People just lose their shit. I mean, it's like everybody's celebrating. They're out there in shorts, chipping ice off of their driveway, and they come out of
hibernation,
out of the woodwork, and everybody wants to be. It can be 50 degrees and sunny, and everybody wants to sit out on the patio with a beer, and just hang out.
I get that.
Like, hey, I'm seeing it in a while. We made it. It's April. Great.
Yeah, my son grew up here in Indianapolis, and he moved up to Madison, has gotten used to the winters up there very quickly. So it's something you can definitely adapt to. He loves it.
For sure.
So getting back to the original point of my question was, are there any like festivals or special releases that you guys look forward to all year?
Yeah, I enjoy all of them that come out, the special releases, because they're limited, and it's fun to have them for a bit, and knowing that there's a little scarcity there, you kind of want to enjoy them while they're around. As far as festivals go, David, there's festivals every weekend.
I mean, there's always something going on in the summer. Obviously, Beer Fest in the fall. There's the Hiawatha Music Festival. It just Art on the Rocks. I mean, there's just seems
Harbor
like every
Fest. Yeah.
It literally, we do kind of a little calendar of things to be aware of, just so we can kind of prepare for them. And it seems like every weekend there's something interesting and epic going on that brings a lot of people to town.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to any particular one? I'm just enjoying the summer.
Yeah. Soak it up when you can. It's fleeting. It's like a special release of a beer. You got to really soak it up.
That's true. So one more question before I hand it over to Rob, because I know he's probably got a million questions to ask. We are getting just crazy notices lately of breweries that are closing across the country, not just here in Michigan. And you guys recently renovated your tap room and increased your barrel, or your size.
Yep.
So what do you think it is that you are doing differently that you are able to expand like this when other breweries are closing?
Well, I'll take this one. I think Andy and I have always been very conservative in our growth, sometimes maybe to a fault. We're very slow to CapEx into our business. We've always kind of done it on a shoestring, and always kind of done it as conservatively as possible to kind of hopefully last, right? And it's something that we've always wanted to do, because we've recognized that one of our greatest shortcomings was our limited space. We do a lot of outdoor space, or we had a fair amount of outdoor space. And, for us, right before COVID, the opportunity came up to purchase the building next to us, and we had coveted this building, and we didn't want somebody else to be there. And so that was kind of the impetus for giving the expansion its legs that it needed. It was a organic response to a need, right? And it's kind of how we always do our development and our growth is when the need is arisen, we will answer it. We're actually doing another one right now to expand. So we did a 100% increase in our occupancy, but we still do a 3-barrel brew pub. And so now we just started, not just, but we're in the throes of developing a larger pub only brew space. It is a weird time for craft beer. There's no doubt. And there was an opportunity for a lot of really relatively cheap money out there. And some of those terms, I think, were looked at as maybe never going to be bad terms until they start to come to, if it's a float or if it's a variable rate. And eventually you got to pay the piper. And I think there's just a lot of people that thought this arc would never go down and put a lot of money into the idea that it would never go down. And in fact, I think it is going down. And I think it's not over. And I think that, we as an industry need to remind everybody that we're an industry of predominantly, not in volume, but in numbers of establishments of small business owners. There's a lot of multinationals that are making it really hard for the small guys. And then they're picking up the ones that we idolized as the independent, in our state, Michigan, independent breweries that paved the way for us that are no longer owned by Michigan people.
So real quick before I hand it off to Rob, we do have a comment in the chat here.
I saw it for a second.
Try to put it up there. John Goodwin says he's planning a spring trip through the UP. It's their first time. Why should you be on the short list?
Why should Blackrocks be on the short list?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna saddle up next to somebody who's gonna tell you everything you need to do in the UP. You're gonna find somebody who's gonna say, "Oh, you're a fisherman? Well, I'm not gonna tell you where I go, but here's a good place to go." You're gonna be a biker. You're gonna find somebody who's gonna be like, the best trails are here, here, and here. You need to camp. I mean, it's really it's really just kind of it's a place to meet. It's a place we've deliberately laid out everything so that you may have to sit next to a stranger. And we think that's a good thing and something that's kind of missing in our world right now. And you're going to maybe find your best friend.
Or your wife.
Or your wife.
That happens.
It happens a lot.
You need to find to bring her with you on the trip. But
I was just going to say, hopefully it's not like they weren't expecting to find their actual wife there.
You never know.
So we took that a little far, I know. But it's possible. You're saying there's a chance.
That's true.
I think those two questions roll into exactly what I was going to ask about, which it sounds like you guys aren't trying to be the next big multinational brewery. You're happy being a community brewery where people come to.
Oh, no, we lost you again, Rob.
Indianapolis is a long ways away. Maybe that's why.
I'm going to anticipate your question, Rob.
No, I was messing with your audio settings trying to turn you up, and I think I messed you up. I'm sorry.
Oh, the wrong button, Ken.
I know, live radio, it sucks. So while Rob's working on his audio real quick, because I think I goofed it more for him than I did for us. I'll ask you one quick question. When it comes to deciding beer styles, when you look at your Untapped, you have almost 850 different beers that you've named. There's probably variations, alternates, probably a few duplicates. How do you get to that many different beers when you're trying to, sell? Because I feel like consistency is key. And when you're trying to do all of these different things, sometimes you're not necessarily getting the best every single time.
I would disagree, but
okay. Hey,
I think
that's why I'm a podcast host and not a brewer.
I think some of that is kind of how we started with the one barrel system. We all love beer and we love the idea of multiple varietals of beer, and a good majority of those one barrels were soon to be the 51Ks, right? But diversity is there it is. Diversity is something that I think we all kind of like. There's also kind of this constant search for the holy grail of beers, like this is it. This is the best beer in the world, right?
It's style, yeah.
But that's a bit of a fool's errand, but it's a fun fool's errand. And so I think having so many small boutique, if you will, batches brewed at the pub, that's where that need for consistency is thrown out the window. The consistency comes at our production site, right? That's where 51K needs to taste like 51K every time it's on the shelf. Mike is, rabbits, they all need to stay as true to form and as true to the original as it came out. And so I think it's just the desire to play and to figure out what else can be done and how we can do it.
Yeah. Like when we started out, it was just me and David brewing, kind of carrying on from our homebrew days. And then eventually when we were getting busier and busier, we were fortunate to run into some other young chaps who were even more knowledgeable and better at it than we were.
That's Andrew Reeves, who is our lead production brewer to this day, and Chris Hutt, aka Chut, Monk of the Mash, friend of Woodland Creatures, Great and Small, who is the pub brewer, and they've been with us from virtually the earliest of days, right? And so giving them the reins to decide and to do what they want to do really leads to some fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, play is a big word. It's kind of what we want to promote too. Like, this should be fun. It should be the same kind of fun we had when we were in the basement brewing. And sure, do like 5 different types of English milds, and they don't all have to be consistent because they're unique in their own. And eventually, man, we're going to find a really good English mild because we're going to be trying a lot of those. Just like that 51K you are drinking, there's probably like 60 different IPAs that went before that we narrowed down to the IPA that we wanted 51K to become. So it was definitely a weakness to have a small brewing system right off the bat, but definitely a strength. And even to this day, a 3-barrel is considered a pilot to many breweries. But that's our pub brewery right now,
I promise you, if you want to put 5 English milds on tap today, I will be there in 7 hours.
A completely underrated style, and it took a little bit of cajoling, but it's become pretty popular when it hits the taps. He does a great job with it. That's Chut.
It's hitting the taps, is it? It's not going into cask?
It's not going to cask. No. Those days are over.
I mean, this is where I would disagree with you, because there's a handful of breweries down here that do like a weekly firkin or a weekly cask, and it gets a lot of people. Like Drafting Table does it, I know for sure. I'm pretty sure Batch does it once a week or once a month. And I mean, we're dealing with population centers that are a lot different than Marquette, because when you're in Detroit, you have the entire Metro Detroit, and even when you're in what city? Like, I was about to say Northville, but they're north of Northville over in Drafting Table. Wixom. They're over in Wixom. Yeah. So like when you're in Livingston County, like you still have a massive population center. So you have the ability to do that. Whereas your shticks, we'll call them, your fun little events, like you can't necessarily provide that weekly and have necessarily the same response rate that we have the access to down here. But Rob.
Yes. I was trying to ask you about being a community brewery instead of trying to go super big and get your beer everywhere.
Yeah, that's always a big question. Like, what's the end game? Where do you want to go? And again, I'll defer back to that word organic. And whenever we do an expansion or an increase in something at production, it's really a needs met kind of a decision. Like, we're not looking to force our product across the Midwest. We're very happy right now where we are. Everybody kind of has a rhythm. People have a life. There's a nice quality of life balance between what we're doing and what we're receiving in return. Yeah, I mean, it is a discussion that we have as far as like what is the end game, and like I said, we don't have one, and we're happy with trying to just fill the lanes that are open in Michigan and little bits of Wisconsin that we're in. As our sales guy says, the acute amount goes to Wisconsin. And so, bigger isn't always better. Sometimes it's more of a pain in the butt than it's worth. And so currently we're just happy being where we are.
So I was looking at your tap list earlier. We talked about the English mild. We talked about the IPA. You've got a pretty diverse lineup of styles on there. Mm-hmm. Do you have some you want to get into rotation more? Some that you want to keep out of rotation? Are there styles out there?
We've been going pretty nuts with lagers lately. It's been quite a focus, and it's just because we like drinking them. So playing around with, like we just put out Gus Polinski Polish lager. That's a pub only, though, I believe, David, right?
It is pub only, and it was at Beer Fest in Detroit.
Yep. But we have like Gus Polinski Polish lager. We're, of course, Super Deluxe is out there. Helles.
The rice lager he just did.
Rice lager. We're back to play. We're playing with a lot of different lagers, and the new expansion that we're doing also is going to house lagering tanks. So we're taking it seriously. We really enjoy making those, and some Czech style pills, and we're playing around with side pull taps now, and getting some side pulls into some nice Kaiser mugs, and it's fun. It's fun to try those different things, and
keep banking on it being the year of the lager, because it will happen one of these days.
One of these days. I've been saying it for 4 years, and it just doesn't seem to. But we have fun doing it. We do some at production. We do some at the pub. It's just furthering that experience for somebody who walks through the door. Now we're fortunate that we have quite a few taps to fill. I'd be hard pressed to think there wouldn't be something for somebody on one of those taps. And that's, again, back to the fun. That's the fun thing about being able to be creative and nimble.
Mm-hmm. Earlier, when you were talking about your origin story, it sounded like you guys are the gateway beer for a lot of people in the area. And now you've got side pulls, so you're kind of opening even more horizons there. How does that make you feel, or does that seem accurate?
Well, a lot of that goes to our employees, that things they've experienced over their beer journeys, maybe different places they visited. No one leaves on a trip to Vermont or New Hampshire, or especially Vermont or Colorado, without coming back with some neat stuff that maybe we should implement or try. And you go to Bierstadt in Colorado, and we're still looking at, man, that's one of the most beautiful pilsners I've ever seen, or I'm not a big fan of hazies, but if you go to Vermont and have a hazy, you're like, oh, that's New England IPA. I get it. It's a little different, and it's wonderful. So yeah, it's fun to just introduce whatever we come across, or, whatever we're able to do.
I think, Rob, I think we're just one of the cogs in that journey for people. That gateway is opened by, it could be Ordoc or Cognition or Barrel and Beam, or somebody could go on a vacation downstate and try a whole host of others, right? So I think it's just the community as a whole getting together and trying to make sure that everybody's getting that gateway into what is craft beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've got one more before handing it back to Ken, but I'm interested in other community stuff. So do you have local partnerships, other local stores and things that you do collaborations with? Do you give your spent grain to farmers in the area? Any of that going on?
I mean, all of it. Let's see. So we have a farmer who raises cattle. He gets all our grain. We ship it out to him. We'll run it out to him in a trailer, or he'll come pick it up. We try to be stewards of things that we enjoy, both through the medium of beer, but also through the revenue of beer. We support the Hiawatha Music Fest. We're lead supporters of the No Cayman on Trail Network's trail building and maintenance program because we enjoy those things. We had just this fall a interesting kind of came about collaboration with the Northern Michigan University for their 125th anniversary, created a Wildcat Gold that can only be purchased on campus or at our facility. And then we take revenue from that and give it to the outdoor rec program so they can buy bikes, skis, whatever they need for the students to get out and explore the wonderful nature that we have around us. So yes, Andy and I have always felt it's been vitally important to give back and to kind of put your money where your mouth is, as well as support the things that you're abusing, like the trails and things like that.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Now Ken's off.
I know. I muted myself just to make sure to not hear. I got a really clicky mouse, like a mouse that's just really, really loud. I want to make sure nobody hears it. So when I started this podcast, I wanted to learn a little bit more about the business, specifically kind of evening out information for the consumer versus the brewers. So I know you all have your own distributors based on the counties and stuff. And we were talking before the show of a brewery, which we will not name, and a store, which we will not name, in which I spent for a what the store was supposed to sell it for $10 or $11. They bought it for $16. So as a consumer, when I see this, I have two options. I can either blame the store for being a ripoff or blaming the brewery for being overpriced and, whatever. How do you manage these localities and these stores for making sure that they're not putting a bad stank on your name when it comes to at least pricing or even keeping fresh beer? Like, God forbid I get a 51K from 2021.
Right.
This wasn't from 2021. By the way.
Good.
I have a story about that too.
This is August 15th.
All right, that's good. 2024, right?
2021.
Yes, 2024.
Yeah. So that is a difficult thing, and I think you hope to have a good enough relationship with those who have their feet on the street, the distributors. In addition, we've always Andy and I have always kind of done the sales and promotion ourselves. And in 2020, we hired a wonderful sales guru, Joe Black, who spent quite a bit of years with founders, and then we were able to steal him away. And then we also hired Kyle Eno, who worked with one of our distributors downstate. And so having those feet on the ground to check the cans, to check pricing, is very important. But the unfortunate thing is ultimately, Ken, we can't dictate how they price it. If X store decides that they're the only game in town for Blackrocks for whatever reason, they can market whatever they want, and we can't not sell it to them. We can maybe go in and just say, hey, you're a little out of line here. Competition around the area somewhere is looking at a little bit more like X, but that is a frustrating component. I would encourage people not to support that if they see a ridiculous gouging situation coming up, especially if you're savvy and you know what the average price is for the layman who's never been to Blackrocks, who's never heard of us. They may think that first touch point is where we're priced at, but we've always had the mindset, both at the pub and on production, that we want to be a fair price. We don't want to gouge anybody. We're just making beer. We're not looking to change the world as far as everything that we're doing. And so we tried to price it accordingly, and it's really
so again, I want to make sure people out there in the radio land are understanding. So I'm not saying you or the royal you are overpricing your beers. I'm saying that after it hits from distro to the store, that's where the overpricing becomes explosive. And as someone who may not be savvy or may not understand like what the pricing scheme is, like if I go in there and say I'm going to buy, let's use for example, because it's not part of the story, so we all know it's not true. This Bell's Amber, and I see this Bell's Amber on the store, a 6-pack costs $10 to $11, but I go to a store and they're charging me $16, $17, $18 for the 6-pack. How do you, in a customer service way, say, hey, we do not price our beer to the stores that way without necessarily saying, hey, we're only charging the stores this much, or, our distro is only charging the stores this much. That seems like a problem for them. Like, how do you balance that customer service level? Because you've got 3 tiers. You've got the brewer, the distributor, and
The retailer.
the store.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you set your price, which means they have to sell it to you. You sell it the exact same price to your distributor, and the distributor sets a price and they have to sell it to everyone at that price. So like price 1 is set. Price 2 is set. Price 3 can be anything the fuck they want. And I think for a consumer, there needs to be not needs to be some type of protection, but how do you protect your business from having that negativity?
Again, it goes down to the feet on the street. Hopefully, having people who are either the distributors, salespeople who kind of see it and say you're out of line here, or our sales guys. And then, really, we would hope that if anybody felt like our price was a little high, to let us know, and we could say, yeah, that is out of line. You're paying too much. I mean, the average price should be $10.99 for a downstate 6-pack of 51K or Micus, right? And you can't do that with everybody. So you just really kind of have to hope that the consumers are kind of educating themselves and shopping around. We cannot control what the retailers decide to do. And that's unfortunate.
And as you were saying, you can't control the distributor to not sell to those retailers.
Right.
You can't put them in timeout or anything like that. You can't say, hey, fix our prices or you ain't getting, a Honey Lab next season.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for distributors, but maybe they do that anyway. Maybe,
I
would hope maybe they kind of see it, but here's the sad thing is if somebody's going to pay $16.99 for a 6-pack of 51K, they're going to keep pricing it at $16.99.
Well, here's like for me, and we were talking, and I want to get your opinion. We're going to finish with much funner questions. I promise.
No, these are really cool industry questions.
They are cool.
But for me, like I walked into the store and I didn't know that was the price until the person literally scanned the beer, because there were no prices on any of the beers. So I just picked a beer, walked it up, and I'm guess like in my head, I'm like, oh, this is probably a $12 beer. And it rang up as 16. And I'm like, oh, am I going to just pay the $4
or walk away? Or it's an awkward position.
Go put the beer back in the fridge and like make this entire scene while people behind me are trying to get their scratch offs and their, Millionaire Friday tickets before the sale happens. Like, it's a weird position to put people in, but for me, I'm always curious because I've talked to these sales reps. Like there's plenty of sales reps that and I talked to the sales rep of the brewer, and I said, wow, this beer is really pricey. Like thinking maybe they're like, yeah, we had a big an issue with this type of malt this year and we needed it, and that's why the price is high this year. It'll go back next year. Shit happens. We know this. If you go listen to episode 47, when it comes out after this, Ian talks about all the cherry frost that happened with Bean Nectar Zombie Killer and how all those years, those prices had to go up for Zombie Killer just for that. So I'm just upset, but the only thing I can do is just not buy beer from there. But in the same token, like being in a craft beer desert, like there's not much. I have to go 25 minutes into Ann Arbor to Bluefront to go find actual good craft beer and then come back, because the only other places are overpriced places that I just don't typically go. So we end the show with fun questions, as I promised. So each of us are going to ask you a fun question to kind of like end the show, get to know you. And then at the end of the show, we'll allow you to, get people to figure out where you are. Obviously, you're in more than just Michigan, because I figured out you're in Wisconsin now. And maybe sell us on the future of what's coming on this winter, this spring. And so we'll start with Wendy. Wendy, what is your final question for Andy and David?
Let's see. What is the beer that you think everybody who comes to Blackrocks should try?
That's a really tough question, only because it changes so much. With that 3-barrel or with that, with the, depending on how busy it is, like there may be an amazing beer on that shut brewed that'll be on for 2 days. And it's like, well, you kind of missed it.
Right. Yeah. Right now I would probably be saying like, oh, you got to try the Wildcat Gold Lager because it's something we launched recently. It's a partnership with NMU, and it's a good lager. And so I'd probably be leaning that way. And that can change in a month.
Right.
Because there'll be something else on that we're excited about, and you got to try this.
How about for the production facility? If I can't get to UP, what should I try at my local store?
Same thing, because
there's so many specialties that come out.
He's drinking an IPA. Ken's drinking an IPA, but maybe you're not into IPAs, so you want something a little more caramely, amber. You can't just name it on one beer. You got to just go try different things, and that's part of the journey, right? You got to.
If I had to pick one, I think I would say right now, because I think it's new and it's something we're kind of adopting as our coconut brown replacement. I would say production-wise, Six Sprocket is a must-try.
Black Ale.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's going to be just a fall till spring offering.
And he's saying that because we're launching it right now, and it's a fun beer to put out right
now.
That's what we're here for.
Another reason to do the full Michigan winter.
That's right.
Rob, what's your final question?
My final question is, what is the last board game or card game you guys played?
Oh.
The last board game. I'm really bad with names. It had something to do with gems, and I had to collect a bunch of cards and get points.
That sounds like Century Golem.
Nope.
Okay.
It's a quick game. You line up these little squares on the top, and then you have playing cards, 3 rows. Each row is different. That's the last game I've played.
Okay. I don't know.
I can't remember it. It's a really great game. While Andy's talking, I'll look it up real quick.
I got into 2 card games this summer.
I know one of them.
Go ahead.
Uno!
No, we got into Uno a little bit, and then totally ramped it up. Went to Monopoly Go, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
It's the faster version, yeah.
I love it. Monopoly Go is awesome,
yeah.
Especially if you get the no card, and someone wants to take your complete set, and you just hold that card up and say no.
Have you seen the documentary it's on YouTube about professional Monopoly players and like the World Monopoly Championships?
Wait, what?
There is. So obviously we know Monopoly is like complete RNG, random number generator, completely randomized. But these people, they play a faster paced version of Monopoly. So not Monopoly Go, but just like different rules for Monopoly. And they like the strategies of what to buy, what not to buy, where to skip. Like it goes so deep because they stats and Excel spreadsheet the shit out of this game to where they know it like the back of their hand when they're playing.
How do I not know about these things? I could be a professional board game player.
Oh yeah, you could be like, obviously there's Scrabble, there's the World Scrabble Championship. Have you ever seen like the kids that do like the Rubik's Cube stuff where like fastest person to do the Rubik's Cube or the cup stacking?
Yeah.
They do the cup stack. See that, all these people do these fun beer games, but think of beer games where you do like cup stacking, where you're like, you've had a few beers in you and you're trying to do something like this 10-year-old can do in 8 seconds and you're trying to do it in 8 minutes.
I'll tell you,
the Catan one is huge.
Go ahead.
The Catan one is huge. The Catan tournament.
Catan's cool.
That's a worldwide one too. It's a big one.
We did have a rock, paper, scissors world champion out of Taylor, Michigan, probably about 15 years ago now. It was a long time. But they were out of Taylor, man. I've been trying to figure out how to do a rock, paper, scissors preliminary match ever since.
I remember watching a documentary. I watch a lot of documentaries on YouTube about rock, paper, scissors, and this guy made it so far, and all he did was he took out dollar bills from his pocket, and based on what the number was, it was what he threw rock, paper, or scissors. So like that's how he would play, is he would look at the dollar bill and then shoot one, if 1 through 3 is rock, 4 through 6 is paper, 7 through 0 is scissors, and just
And there's a documentary on that. Again,
no, there's so many documentary. Yeah, I tell you what, if you're like, Ken, I'm bored, I need a documentary, I can send you everything. I am a documentary hog when it comes to like YouTube. Just eat it all up. David, did you figure out the game?
No, I'm looking through every possible board game that the world has ever produced, and I'm not finding it.
I got you a must buy though. If you're into cards, on Amazon you can buy this really plasticky cheap card shuffler, and you put it's got like 2 AA batteries. We take that outside on the deck and play some Monopoly Go. And the whole neighborhood can hear the card shuffle. It's just
I use that for my hand and foot deck, which is 4 standard decks together.
Oh, really?
Hand and foot deck.
Yeah, hand and foot. It's a nice card game. Used to play a lot of it. I haven't played it in a while.
Oh, I also learned what's it called? Not junk or scrap or
spit.
No, it's just
speed.
That's junk, and you got to throw it away, or so. I'd have to get retaught. But
Splendor.
Splendor,
what?
yeah, okay.
Splendor.
I have definitely played
David's
Splendor.
So proud he figured that out.
Found it.
I will second that as a good game to recommend. There is a dual version of it, which is for 2 people, and that's also a lot of fun. But
so less cards, less. I mean, you can play Splendor with 2.
Yes, you can play Splendor with 2. Splendor Duel is set up to play with 2 specifically.
Oh, cool. I'll look into that. That's a family favorite.
All right.
My family's favorite right.
Go ahead, Wendy. Your family favorite is what?
My family's favorite right now is Rainbow Pirates.
Never heard of it.
It is amazing, and it's fun, and it's good for all ages. So look it up.
Rainbow Pirates.
Rainbow Pirates. It's a card game.
Ticket to Ride too.
Yeah.
Yep. We play that one too.
All right.
All right.
We're gonna
Sorry,
play.
Ken.
No worries. We're gonna play a little family feud between the 2 of you to see.
Wait, Ken, what's your question?
This is my question.
Oh, it's a Family Feud style.
We're Family Feud style. Yeah. Yep. Just call me Drew Carey or Al from Home Improvement. Richard Karn. That's his name.
Richard Karn.
That was
Hold
a good
that one
quote.
out. Good.
I'm happy for that one. All right. Based on Untapped, with at least 100 reviews, what do you think are your I pulled 6, so your 6 top rated beers based on at least 100. So it's not like some small batch. This at least got a decent amount of reviews.
All right, I'm going to go.
I think are one of your top 6.
Are we going to just work through them together, Andy and I?
Just start answering, or what you think.
51K.
It is not.
What?
Oh, 51K is, I don't even know where 51K is. My Kiss rates over 51K.
But still not in the top 6?
Still not in the top 6.
Starman?
Starman is not one of the top 6.
Razzle Rabbits.
Razzle Rabbits is not in the top 6.
Barbaric Yop.
Which one?
Bourbon.
So we have
2021.
I'll give you 2. You've got 2 that are on here. You've got the barrel-aged Barbaric Yop, which is the aged in rum, rye, and bourbon barrels, then blended. So I'm guessing that
was 2020, I think that one was.
That was my favorite one.
The next one is the rum and bourbon barrel-aged, then blended. So I'm guessing that was a different one.
That was 2021.
All right, so that's 2 of the 6.
Wow.
God, I don't know.
All right, so we'll start giving you some hints just to have, to make it less. You have a mash tun that this beer was named after.
Oh, the
Murray Project.
Murray Project.
The Murray Project, a 401, 9.2% double imperial IPA. One of these is, and I'll give you the tasty notes: aromas and flavors of melon, lime, and tropical fruit, juicy. It's an IPA American.
The hazy we did?
Not a hazy.
It's not a hazy.
This one's not a hazy. There is a hazy on the list.
It's lime and
melon, lime, and tropical fruit, juicy.
That's a pub only one, I bet.
No.
The first review is doesn't taste like an IPA from the Knickerbocker Theater at Hope College. The next one is I can't. Well, we'll just say it because whatever. Mo Betta, no Betta.
Mocash?
Mocash. Yeah.
Mocash. Yeah, that's never been in cans, right? We
never.
No, you had at least 100.
All pub.
You had at least. Well, I mean, people were checking in non-pub venues, so it looks like you at least distroed a little.
Well, a little bit.
Maybe a 6-barrel.
New England Hazy is the next one.
What was that? What do we call it one? Flow form.
Juicy, creamy, hazy IPA with bright grapefruit, pineapple, and passion fruit aromas and flavors.
No, this is another one we didn't can.
It's canned. I see a can of it.
It's canned?
It's the other one, not flow form, but
that's the one we did before it, right?
Yep.
Kind of rhymes with the Kellogg cereal. It's in a loops form.
Oh, Fruit Noobs.
Rispies?
Fruit Noobs.
Fruit Noobs.
Fruit Noobs.
And the last one, and this makes my heart great, a 413 5.5% cream ale is your highest rated, over 100 reviews beer.
Rabbits.
Jacked Rabbits.
Oh, the coffee Jacked Rabbits.
That was a good one. I was going to talk to Chud about doing that again.
Last drank June 2022.
Wow, I can't believe it was that late. That never went in cans either.
That is your highest rated beer over 100 views. So that's based on Untapped too. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Andy, David, Marquette, Michigan, Blackrocks Brewing. Where can they find you? What states are you in? How do we get distro? How do we get your beer in our mouths?
Do you have anything coming up you want to promote?
So first answer is we're trying to get it as many places in Michigan as we can without being obnoxious. We're working on trying to get more draft opportunities for people to try to do a true sampling of what we offer and then hopefully win them over so they can pick it up in a can. So trying to be everywhere in Michigan, and it's not 100% possible, of course, because we're not Bells or Founders. And then in pockets of Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Appleton, kind of the east coast of Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Anything to promote? No, not really. I mean, we love to promote our beautiful town and all the wonders that it offers people.
Just like to invite y'all to come up, and any of your listeners, definitely stop on up. The pub is a fun experience. Would love to share a beer with you.
Meet your wife.
Yep, meet your wife. Listen to some music, live music. Maybe you can wait till July if you want, Wendy. You don't have to come up in January. But
I think
some of my favorite
come up in September. The few days before the fall UP Beer Festival.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you guys agree, but the Fall Beer Festival in the UP is easily the best Michigan Brewers Guild craft beer festival out there. Sure. I'm sorry, it's number 2 to the Burning Foot Beer Fest, but the Brewers Guild Fest up in Marquette, so good. So especially the last few years, the weather has been just
perfect.
Chef's kiss. Andy, David, thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate it. Go check out Blackrocks Brewing at your local store in Michigan and Wisconsin, as well as go up to Marquette. There's plenty of great breweries out there to give you even more of an incentive because you can find them at the Michigan Brewery Map app, free to download if you go to mibeermap.com. Free for breweries to be on, free for users to use. The whole point is to promote craft beer. So go drink your craft beer, and no matter what you think of that beer, we think it's
better on draft. Oh, sorry.
Better on draft. Have a good night.
Don't pay more than $14 for a 6-pack.
Unless you're at, Little Caesars Arena or something.